Well, hello everybody. Let's talk about post Paqueta plans, shall we? Yes, everybody, Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you are all safe and well, my friends. I genuinely hope you are well. Now we're looking ahead to the summer. We've got a few weeks left of this season to play through, but we know in the summer there's going to be a lot of rebuilding. We know that both from a personnel, both from a coaching perspective as well, potentially. And one of the players who is continually and has been linked to obviously a move out of West Ham is Lucas Paqueta. And obviously, we know full well that his relegation contract, no, his release clause of around £85 million kicks into effect this summer. We know that Man City are sniffing around for him. There was reports the other day that he had verbally agreed to join them, and apparently those were rubbished by sources close to the player himself. But there's no smoke without fire. Let's be honest, is there? We know that he is likely to not be in a West Ham shirt come August. The summer transfer window opens on June the 16th. But according to several sources and several reports, West Ham are already planning for life after Paqueta through a couple of interesting younger models, we'll say that. According to a few quite a lot of noise actually, particularly from Fabrizio Romano. West Ham are apparently eyeing the Leeds forwards, Kaizenkyo Somerville, as a potential summer acquisition to fill the void potentially left by Lucas Paqueta. Fabrizio Romano updated the situation on Somerville. He's got 17 goals and 8 assists in 38 games for Leeds this year in the Championship. He's been a standout performer, and because of that sort of run of form, it's unsurprising that he sparked interest in his future at Ellen Road beyond this season. With obviously the club Leeds have got aspirations to get into the Premier League, but also, in terms of his progression and where he wants to be playing in the Premier League. Reports suggest that teams such as us, Liverpool, Newcastle, and AC Milan are all monitoring the young forward. And according to Romano, several clubs are showing a keen interest, although no negotiations have reached a conclusive phase so far. But he does anticipate attempts to secure a deal for Somerville will definitely intensify. And I think the summer will have a better, some of these negotiations will obviously take a more concrete approach, because Leeds will know what division they're in, whether in the Premier League next year they get promoted or in the Championship. I think even so, regardless, they will probably look to make some money on him. They did a similar thing in the season they went down, selling Calvin Phillips to Man City, selling Rafinha to Barcelona as well, for around 50 to 60 million for the both. So, he's young, he's dynamic, he's got more in some respects to his game than Lucas, in terms of he has incredible pace as well, and would be a very exciting player, would be a player who would get West Ham fans off their seats and could possibly, how many, how vague is that? Allow someone like Kudus to move into that 10 role, and Somerville taking the wing role. I think Kudus has a bit more about him in that middle of the park. Yes, he's got great pace, but he's also got good technical ability as well. And Kudus can play. He can play left. He can play as a 10. He can play on the right. He can play up front as well. But I wouldn't mind seeing him more in that 10 role potentially. And maybe someone like Somerville coming in could mean that potentially that frees up that void in that 10 slot for Mohamed to progress. Another player, again, maybe a slightly more left field, is the Ukrainian wonder kid, Georgy Sudakov. currently plying his trade at Shakhtar Donetsk. And apparently West Ham are interested in him. And again, a multi-club transfer race heads up ahead of the summer transfer window. He's 21 years old. We've apparently been keeping tabs on him since early this season, and we've joined the likes of Liverpool, Aston Villa, City, Barcelona, PSG, and Bayern Munich. Only a few small clubs there in interest for the 21-year-old Ukrainian mainstay international now. It's understood that he has signed a new deal with Shakhtar Donetsk until 2028, which has seen a release clause in excess of £100 million entered into his contract, though that seemingly hasn't disparaged interested parties at all. And indeed, that's just a figure, isn't it? I don't think you'll get many Ukrainian under 21 player or 21-year-old Ukrainian players going for £100 million, in all honesty. As I said, this could be a replacement for a outgoing Lucas Paqueta, for example. Obviously, there's a hefty release clause. Doesn't mean the club will end up paying anything out, but in the same way, Shakhtar aren't really under any pressure to sell. I mean, Georgie is more of a, whereas Somerville is more of a winger type player. Georgie's definitely more an attacking midfielder. He can play on the left as well, much like Lucas. And he's one of the most important players in the Ukrainian club, especially when it comes to European competitions for them. He started in all the Champions League games, all 6 for Shakhtar. And then despite dropping down into the Europa League, and eventually they got knocked out by Marseille, I think it was. Something like that. The youngster scored plenty of goals during their time. He's already made the national side and he's a mainstay in that setup now. He's made about 14, 15 appearances for Ukraine since 2020. So he was at a very young age. You know, he was 17, 18 when he broke into the national side for Ukraine. He most notably recently notched up 2 assists as they bypassed Iceland to qualify for the Euro 2024. So a very interesting player, and you know, one of these ones that is not top tier name so far, but as I said, he's only 21, and he's got his whole career ahead of him. So be interesting to see. I don't know. Let me just check something, because obviously there was a lot of reports recently. When did that happen? Bear with. Obviously, there's been a lot of reports in the last 48 hours, which including a big back page spread on the Independent, which had suggested that Paulo Fonseca is definitely top of the list to replace David Moyes. Now, Paulo Fonseca did manage and has made his name really in international club football, by managing Shakhtar Donetsk to 3 treble wins. And he was manager Georgie was, for a couple of years, there was a crossover when Georgie was in the youth team at Shakhtar. He was in the youth team from 2017 to 2020, and Paulo Fonseca was manager of Shakhtar from 2016 to 2019. So he would have been aware of him, I would imagine. So 2 and 2 together, eh? Keep adding them up. Anyway, just thought it was of interest. Obviously we try and keep you abreast of any of the latest news that comes out that affects any of our players or potential departures or potential incomings as well. But anyway, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Fulham game. Much love. Bye-bye.